Another day, another dollar. A new year and we have some fresh new comparison videos. It's 2025 and the Galaxy S25 Plus has just hit the market. The S24 Plus made quite a big splash, relatively speaking, in its category, as it was stacked to the brim with almost 90% of the flagship features of the S24 Ultra. This year, Samsung seems to have continued that trend and are giving the S25 Plus a huge spoonful of flagship-like specs as well. Sounds pretty rosy, however, there is another device that could rain on this parade. May we introduce to you the OnePlus 13. But wait, isn't the OnePlus 13 a flagship? Well, yes it is, however, it's a budget flagship, which is kind of the same thing as the S24 and S25 Plus. It has a big flagship screen, flagship processor, high-end materials, but it lacks those extra 10 to 15% of high-end touches to compete with the top-of-the-range models. So, more or less they compete in the same place in the market. So, how do they stack up against each other? Well, Samsung fans, you're gonna want to look away for this one because it's not too good, and here's why. Let's start with the design. Neither company has made any big changes. However, OnePlus have made a bit more effort to differentiate and improve the design from last year's model. They've flattened out the edges and they've also tidied up the camera bump. You also get two different materials to choose from on the back with that glass and eco leather. The S25 Plus looks very similar to last year's model. Actually, it's essentially the same thing. It's identical. If you have the two phones right next to each other, the only way that you'd be able to differentiate is by understanding or knowing the different color options for the S25 and the S24 Plus. That's not a bad thing because brand recognition is definitely a point of sales and status, but we do like the eco leather look and feel on the OnePlus 13. You could make a slight argument that the materials on the Samsung device are better than on the OnePlus 13 with the Gorilla Glass Victus 2 protection compared to Crystal Shield. However, we do like the OnePlus 13. These are solid looking devices with the materials going to the S25 Plus. When it comes to that magical window of light we use to interact with our beloved pocket dwelling instruments, they both deliver a lot of good things. But the OnePlus 13 delivers industry-topping specs with its display. The beautiful 6.82-inch LTPO AMOLED 120Hz Dolby Vision HDR10 Plus panel delivers fast, snappy and crisp visuals whilst getting bright enough to melt your eyebrows off at 4500 nits. The fingerprint reader is also well placed, a bit higher, and it's 120% accurate and instant. It's an unbelievable display. Whilst the 6.7-inch 120Hz dynamic AMOLED 2X display on the S25 Plus is absolutely wonderful, it's definitely outdone by the OnePlus 13. The curved edge could be something some people don't like, but it's very subtle and we didn't have any issues. Big ups to the OnePlus 13. Internally, they are running near identical specs. The Snapdragon 8 Elite, 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs internally as standard. The Samsung maxes out at 12 gigs of RAM and 512 internally, whereas you can get all the way up to 24 gigs and 1 terabyte on the OnePlus 13. You do get 7 major Android updates on the S25 Plus compared to 4 on the OnePlus 13. Both One UI and Oxygen OS are great skins, with the latter actually having less bloatware, which is great. Flipping through apps, different screens and menus is snappy, and gaming can be done at the highest settings without any dropped frames. The biggest difference is the amount of AI integration that has been implemented on the Galaxy S25 Plus. Summarizing notes, messages and writing emails are all cool and usable tools. However, it's awesome to have those features, but we don't really see them as a huge factor just yet. That being said, the OnePlus 13 has introduced some of its own AI features in the camera department, for example, but to a far lesser extent. In daily use, they are both excellent and pretty much do everything you could ask of them. The camera department is the only place where you could clearly give the Galaxy S25 Plus the W. But it's not a smashing victory. It's definitely better, but in normal daytime conditions, pointing and shooting is gonna give very similar results. When you start pixel peeping, perhaps you could make an argument that the Samsung has better dynamic range and the subject separation is a tad better, but for the average Joe, it's gonna be hard to notice. Nighttime shooting is actually where you can see the difference in quality, or the amount of drop being bigger on the OnePlus 13 compared to the S25 Plus. In the video capture, we were actually surprised at how good the OnePlus did. Don't get me wrong, the Galaxy S25 Plus is better, but it's not a huge gap. For a flagship, we give the OnePlus 13 a solid pass, and the Samsung is pretty good and can shoot some bangers at times. That's pretty much where the good news ends for the Galaxy S25 Plus, as the battery category is a resounding victory for the OnePlus 13. The OnePlus 13 is hands down the best battery we have ever tested on a phone. Thanks to upgrades in battery technology, it actually got a bit lighter as a phone and it's still fairly slim. However, the battery now is a 6000 mAh reserve that can now confidently be called a 2-day battery. You also get insane fast charging, 100 watts, 0 to 136 minutes, 50 watt wireless and 10 watt reverse wireless. Love to see these kinds of stats with new releases. It's comfortably a 2-day phone. On the other hand, the 4900 mAh battery in the Samsung feels like old school tech. Sure, it's gonna get you through an entire day, but this is a Samsung. I think we should be expecting a little bit better from this company. Also, we only have 45 watts of fast charging. It's a bit of a letdown. 15 watt wireless and 4.5 reverse wireless charging are also included. These phones are no doubt on the higher end of the price range, but with the fully stacked OnePlus 13 coming in at $900 and the Galaxy S25 Plus going for 100 more at $1,000, it's so hard to recommend the Samsung over the OnePlus 13. It's hands down, no-brainer, the better option if you consider the facts. But that's just what we think. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay under the spotlight.